My name is Naomi Fields, and I am a woman who once believed that love could be a shield strong enough to turn away any blow. I was wrong. I live in Henrico County, Virginia, on the Whitmore Plantation, where tobacco grows in rows so straight they look like prison bars when you stand at the end of a field and squint into the sun. The earth here is red clay, the kind that stains your feet and never quite washes clean. I have worked this land since I was 7 years old, my hands moving through the leaves, my back bent under the weight of baskets, my lungs filled with dust that settles deep and never leaves. But the tobacco was never the heaviest thing I carried. The heaviest thing was always hope. Hope that I could keep my daughter safe in a world designed to break us both. Her name is Lily. She is 9 years old now, with eyes like polished chestnuts and a smile that once came easy, before she learned what it meant to be a girl child born into bondage. I named her Lily because when she was born, in the small hours of a May morning, the air smelled of the wild lilies that grew near the creek, and I thought perhaps she could be like them, something beautiful that chose its own place to bloom, that nobody planted or owned. I was foolish then. I didn't yet understand that we owned nothing, not even our own children, not even our own names if Master Whitmore decided otherwise. I remember the first time I held her, still slick with birth, her cry piercing the darkness of the cabin. Old Bess, who had midwifed half the quarters, placed her in my arms and said, "She's a strong one, Naomi, but don't love her too hard. You know how it goes." I nodded, but I didn't listen. How could I not love her with everything I had? She was mine. For those first few years, I let myself believe that meant something. The quarters where we live sit behind the main house, a collection of rough-hewn cabins with gaps in the walls wide enough to see through. In winter, the wind cuts through like a knife. In summer, the heat presses down until you can't tell if you're breathing air or steam. We sleep on pallets stuffed with straw, 6 or 7 of us to a cabin. The walls smell of sweat and smoke and generations of grief soaked into the wood. At night, I would hold Lily close, her small body curled against mine, and I would whisper stories into her hair, stories my own mother told me, about clever rabbits and brave women, about a time before this one, when our people walked free under African skies. I tried to teach her to be invisible. I told her to keep her eyes down when Master Whitmore or his sons passed by. I told her to speak softly, to move quietly, to never draw attention to herself. I plaited her hair tight every morning, wrapping it close to her scalp so it wouldn't be noticed, so she wouldn't be called pretty by the wrong person. I taught her to read the moods of white folks the way you read the sky before a storm, watching for the signs, preparing for the violence that could come without warning. But children are not made to be invisible. They are made to run and laugh and ask questions. They are made to test the world and find their place in it. Lily was bright, curious, always watching, always wondering. She would ask me why the stars moved across the sky, why the creek ran one direction and not another, why some people lived in the big house and we lived in the quarters. I answered what I could, but some questions had no answers I could give, not without breaking something inside her that still needed to stay whole. Master Whitmore is not the cruelest man I have known, but that is like saying a snake is not the cruelest creature because it only strikes when threatened. He is a man who believes he is decent because he does not beat us without reason, because he allows us Sunday afternoons to ourselves, because he has never sold a nursing mother away from her infant. But decency in a slaveholder is only the absence of extraordinary cruelty. It is not kindness. It is not humanity. It is simply the bare minimum of restraint, and it can vanish in an instant when profit or pride is at stake. His wife, Mrs. Whitmore, is a thin woman with a voice like ice cracking on a pond. She oversees the house servants with a sharp eye and a sharper tongue. I have seen her slap a girl for folding a napkin wrong, seen her dock rations for a crooked seam in a dress.
She does not see us as people.
We are furniture that talks, tools that occasionally require maintenance. When she looks at me, her gaze slides past, as if I am no more significant than the chair I might be standing near. Their son, Thomas, is 17 now, tall and broad-shouldered, with his father's square jaw and his mother's cold eyes. He has begun to look at the young women in the quarters the way a fox looks at a henhouse. I have seen that look before. I know what it means. And when his eyes began to linger on Lily, when I saw him watching her carry water from the well, when I heard him ask the overseer her name, something inside me turned to stone. I knew then that my worst fear was not something that might happen. It was something that would happen unless I could find a way to stop it. Every morning, I wake before dawn and I look at my daughter's sleeping face, and I make promises I don't know how to keep. I promise that I will protect her. I promise that I will keep her safe. I promise that she will not endure what I endured, what my mother endured, what every woman in these quarters has endured or will endure. But even as I make these promises, I feel them slipping through my fingers like water, like smoke, like everything we are not allowed to hold on to in this place. I could not protect my child. That is the truth that haunts me, the knowledge that sits like a stone in my chest every waking moment. I am her mother, and I am powerless. I can feed her, clothe her, comfort her, teach her, love her with a fierceness that could shake mountains, and still, I cannot protect her from the men who own her body before she is old enough to understand what that means. The day everything changed began like any other day, which is how the worst days often begin, ordinary and unremarkable until they are not. I was in the kitchen house, where I work most days preparing food for the Whitmore family. The heat from the cook fire was already oppressive, though the sun had barely cleared the trees. I was kneading dough for biscuits, my hands moving in the rhythm I had learned as a girl, when Mrs. Whitmore came in with her daughter-in-law, Thomas's new bride, a delicate creature from Richmond who seemed perpetually startled by the realities of plantation life. "Naomi," Mrs. Whitmore said, not looking at me, "Thomas needs a girl to work in the tobacco barn. Someone young and quick. He mentioned your Lily might do." The dough under my hands went still. My heart, which had been beating steady and sure, began to hammer against my ribs like something trying to escape. "Lily's only 9, missus," I said carefully, keeping my voice level, respectful. "She's still small for heavy work. Perhaps one of the older girls." Thomas asked for Lily specifically. Mrs. Whitmore interrupted, her tone sharp with irritation at being questioned. "He says she's bright and learns quickly. She'll start tomorrow." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the dough, to overturn the table, to fall on my knees and beg. But I had learned long ago that enslaved women who show too much emotion about their children only make those children more vulnerable. Overseers and masters take note of what you love, and they use it against you. Your love becomes a leash they can pull whenever they want compliance. So I nodded. "Yes, missus." But inside, I was drowning. That night, I could not sleep. I lay in the darkness listening to Lily breathe, trying to memorize the sound, as if I might lose it. Around me, the other women in the cabin shifted and sighed in their sleep. Martha, who had lost 3 children to the auction block, made small whimpering sounds in her dreams. Young Cora, barely 15 and already with child by the overseer, slept with one hand pressed protectively over her belly. We were all of us haunted by the same ghosts, the children we couldn't keep, the bodies we couldn't claim, the futures that would never be ours. I thought about my own mother, who had died when I was 12, worn out from childbearing and field work before she reached 35. I remembered her hands, rough and scarred, and how gentle they had been when they touched my face. She used to tell me that a mother's love was the strongest magic in the world, stronger than any conjure or root work, because it could keep a piece of your soul safe even when your body was being broken. But if that were true, why couldn't her love protect me? Why couldn't my love protect Lily? I remembered the first time I was violated. I was 13, and the overseer caught me alone near the smokehouse. I remember the smell of cured meat mixing with the smell of a sweat, the way he clamped his hand over my mouth, the way my body went rigid and then limp, some instinct telling me that fighting would only make it worse. Afterward, I went to the creek and scrubbed my skin until it bled, but I could never get clean. That feeling of being marked, stained, ruined, it never left. I told my mother, and she held me while I cried, but there was nothing she could do. We both knew that. The overseer never faced consequences. Why would he? I was property. You don't prosecute a man for damaging his own property, and Master Whitmore valued a good overseer more than he valued the innocence of a slave girl. The next morning, I braided Lily's hair with shaking hands. She chattered happily about working with the other children, about learning something new, oblivious to the dread that was crushing my lungs. She was still young enough to be excited about change, still innocent enough to trust that the world had good things in store for her. "Mama, why are you crying?" she asked, touching my cheek. I hadn't realized I was. I wiped the tears away quickly and forced a smile. "Just dust in my eyes, baby. You be good today, you hear? You stay close to the other girls. Don't go anywhere alone. And if Master Thomas or anyone tries to, if anyone makes you uncomfortable, you come find me right away. Promise me." She promised, but I could see the confusion in her eyes. She didn't understand why I was so worried.
How could she?
She was 9 years old. The worst thing she could imagine was a whipping for broken crockery or a missed meal for being too slow at her tasks. She couldn't imagine what I knew was coming. The tobacco barn was at the far end of the property, a long, dark building where the harvested leaves were hung to dry. The air inside was thick and acrid, hard to breathe. Thomas supervised the work there, ostensibly learning the business from his father, but mostly he lounged in the doorway, watching the laborers with a proprietary gaze that made my skin crawl. For 3 days, I worked as fast as I could, finishing my kitchen duties early so I could find excuses to walk past the barn, to catch glimpses of Lily, to assure myself she was safe. Each time I saw her, she seemed fine, tired, covered in tobacco dust, but unharmed. I began to hope that perhaps I had been wrong, that perhaps Thomas had simply needed an extra worker and nothing more. On the 4th day, Lily did not come back to the quarters at the usual time. I waited, telling myself she had been kept late to finish a task. But as the sun set and darkness fell, and still she did not appear, panic rose in my throat like bile. I went to the barn, my legs moving faster than my mind could keep up with, and there was Thomas, emerging from the shadows, tucking his shirt back into his trousers. And behind him, Lily, her dress torn at the shoulder, her face blank and empty in a way that made me want to die. He saw me and smirked. "She's clumsy, your girl." Tripped and tore her dress. I was just helping her up.
Lies.
I knew lies. I had heard them my whole life, smooth and practiced, told to justify every cruelty, every violation, every theft of dignity and body and soul. I went to Lily and pulled her against me, and she was shaking, silent, in shock. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to wrap my hands around his throat and squeeze until the light left his eyes. But I knew what would happen if I so much as raised my voice. They would whip me, or sell me, or worse, they would take Lily away from me permanently, send her to another plantation where I could never find her. So I stood there, my daughter trembling in my arms, and I said nothing. I did nothing. I was her mother, and I failed her. That is what slavery does. It does not just steal your freedom or your labor. It steals your ability to protect the people you love. It makes you complicit in your own destruction, because the only way to survive is to swallow your rage, to bow your head, to let them take and take and take until there is nothing left but the hollow shell of who you once were. That night, I did not sleep. I sat in the darkness of our cabin with Lily curled in my lap. Too big for it really, but I held her anyway, the way I had when she was an infant. She had not spoken since I brought her back from the barn. She simply stared into the shadows with those beautiful eyes that now looked like windows into a room where all the light had been extinguished. Around me, the other women pretended to sleep, but I knew they were awake. They had all heard. They all knew. In the quarters, there are no secrets about this kind of suffering. It is the air we breathe, the ground we walk on, the inheritance we pass down to our daughters whether we want to or not. Old Bess finally rose and came to sit beside me. She was the eldest among us, perhaps 60 years old, though she looked ancient. Her face was a map of every sorrow she had endured, every child she had lost, every violation she had survived. "You can't stop it," she whispered. "You know you can't. The best you can do is teach her how to survive it." "No," I said, the word coming out harder than I intended.
No.
"I won't accept that. You don't have a choice, Naomi. None of us do." But something in me had broken open, or perhaps it had finally been set free. I looked down at my daughter's face, at the bruise forming on her cheek, at the torn dress I would have to mend with thread and prayers, and I felt something I had not allowed myself to feel in a very long time.
Rage.
Pure, white-hot rage that burned away the fear, the resignation, the learned helplessness that slavery had cultivated in me since childhood. I felt it spreading through my veins like fire, consuming everything except one singular, crystalline truth. I would not let them destroy her, not without a fight. I had been taught my entire life that I was powerless, that I was nothing, that my only value was in my labor and my body's ability to produce more labors. I had been taught to accept, to endure, to survive by becoming smaller and smaller until I was barely visible. But I was visible to my daughter. I was everything to her. And if I did nothing, if I simply let this happen again and again until her spirit was crushed entirely, then what was I teaching her? That her life didn't matter? That she deserved this? That there was no point in fighting because we were always going to lose?
No.
I thought about the stories my mother told me, about our ancestors who had been warriors and queens, who had built kingdoms and created beauty and lived with dignity before they were stolen and brought to this cursed land. I thought about the women I knew who had found ways to resist, the ones who had poisoned cruel masters, who had burned down barns, who had run away pregnant and given birth in swamps rather than let their children be born enslaved. I thought about Harriet, who had escaped 3 years ago and was rumored to be living free in the North, working as a seamstress in Philadelphia. I thought about how people whispered her name with a mixture of awe and terror, because she had done what we all dreamed of doing. She had taken her freedom instead of waiting for someone to grant it. And I understood, in that moment of perfect clarity, that I had been asking the wrong question all along. The question was not, how can I protect my child within this system? The question was, how can I remove my child from this system entirely? It was impossible, of course. Escape from a Virginia plantation was nearly impossible, especially for a woman with a child. The patrollers were everywhere with their dogs and their guns. The law said that any white person could stop and question any black person, could demand proof of freedom, could apprehend anyone who seemed to be traveling without permission. The punishment for attempted escape was brutal: whipping, branding, sometimes death. But nearly impossible was not the same as impossible. I began to pay attention differently. I listened to the conversations between the house servants who overheard Master Whitmore's discussions about business. I watched the patterns of the overseer's rounds. I noted which nights the patrollers seemed less vigilant, which paths through the woods were less traveled, which neighbors might be sympathetic or at least indifferent. I began to save things: scraps of food that wouldn't be missed, a worn blanket that had been destined for the rag pile, an old knife from the kitchen that I hid beneath the floorboards of our cabin. Small things. Nothing that would be noticed individually, but together they began to form the skeleton of a plan. I talked to old Bess, who knew herb lore and root work. She gave me a poultice to treat Lily's bruises and a tea to help her sleep without nightmares. But she also gave me something else: the name of a white woman in the next county, a Quaker who sometimes helped runaways. Bess had heard about her from someone who had heard it from someone else, and the information might be years out of date or entirely wrong, but it was something. "You're going to do something foolish," Bess said to me one night, her eyes knowing and sad. "Yes," I agreed. "You might die. I might. But if I stay, I'll die anyway, just slower." She nodded, understanding. We were all dying slowly here, our spirits eroding bit by bit, year by year, until we became the hollow women we saw in the fields, moving, working, breathing, but not truly alive. I looked at Lily, who was finally sleeping, her small body curled on the pallet we shared. In sleep, she looked peaceful, almost happy. She deserved a chance to be happy for real, not just in dreams. I made my decision. We would run. Planning an escape is like building a house in your mind brick by brick, except every brick is made of fear and every joint is held together with desperate hope. One wrong calculation, one overlooked detail, one stroke of bad luck, and the whole structure collapses, and when it collapses, people die. I chose a night in late October when the harvest was mostly finished and the nights were long and dark. The moon would be new, providing maximum darkness. Master Whitmore would be away in Richmond for a horse auction, taking Thomas with him, which meant the oversight would be lighter, the household distracted. I told no one except old Bess, and even she didn't know when we would go, only that we would. The fewer people who knew, the safer everyone would be. If we were caught, I didn't want anyone else to be implicated, to face punishment for helping us. I prepared Lily slowly, carefully. I told her stories about the North, about places where Black people could walk free, could learn to read in real schools, could choose their own work and keep their own wages. I told her these stories as if they were fairy tales, because that's what they sounded like to us. Impossible, beautiful dreams. "Would you like to see those places?" I asked her one night. She looked at me with those old eyes she had now, eyes that had seen too much too soon. "Can we really go there?" "Maybe," I said, "but it would be dangerous. We would have to walk a long way, through the woods at night. We might be hungry and cold. Men with dogs might chase us. We could be caught and punished or worse." "Would Thomas be there?" she asked quietly. My heart broke. "No, baby, he would never be there." "Then I want to go." On the chosen night, I finished my kitchen work as usual. I banked the fires, cleaned the pots, set the bread to rise for morning. All the normal tasks that would give us a few hours head start before anyone noticed we were gone. I had sewn our meager supplies into the lining of my skirt. Dried meat, hard biscuits, the knife, a flint for starting fires. When full dark came, I woke Lily gently. She was ready, dressed in her sturdiest clothes with rags wrapped around her feet to muffle our footsteps. We slipped out of the cabin while the others slept. Old Bess sat up and looked at me one last time. She didn't say goodbye. She just nodded, and I nodded back, a whole conversation passing between us in that gesture. Blessing, warning, understanding, grief. Then we were moving through the darkness, keeping to the shadows, heading for the tree line that marked the edge of the cultivated fields. Every sound was amplified. The snap of a twig under my foot like a gunshot. The rustle of our skirts like thunder. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. We reached the woods and pushed deeper, following the North Star when we could see it through the canopy, navigating by instinct when we couldn't. I had studied the patterns of these woods for years, had walked every permitted path, and memorized the landmarks. Now I used that knowledge, leading us along the creek beds where our scent would be harder for dogs to follow, avoiding the roads where patrollers might be waiting. Lily held my hand and didn't complain, though I knew she was frightened and tired. She had become so quiet since that day in the barn, as if speaking required more energy than she had. But she trusted me, and that trust was both a gift and a terrible burden. What if I was leading her to something worse? What if we were caught? What if I had made a terrible mistake? We walked all night, and by dawn we had covered perhaps 10 miles. Not enough. Never enough. But we found a dense thicket where we could hide during daylight, and we burrowed into it like hunted animals, which is what we were. I rationed out a little food and water. Lily fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted. I stayed awake, listening, every sense alert for danger. I heard dogs in the distance around midday. The sound made my blood turn to ice. They might have been hunting dogs, not tracking us at all. Or they might have discovered our absence and already begun the search. I held Lily closer and prayed to a God I wasn't sure I believed in anymore, a God who had allowed us to suffer so much for so long. When night came again, we moved. My legs ached. My feet were blistered and bleeding inside my shoes, but we moved. We had to. Every hour we delayed was an hour the patrollers got closer, an hour our trail got easier to follow. On the third night, we reached the place old Bess had described, a farmhouse set back from the road, with a red cloth hanging in one window. The signal. My hands shook as I approached, because this was the moment of greatest risk. What if Bess's information was wrong? What if the Quaker woman had moved, or died, or been arrested for helping runaways? What if this was a trap? I knocked softly on the back door 3 times, then twice, then once. The pattern Bess had told me. The door opened, and a white woman stood there, middle-aged, with kind eyes and flour on her apron. She looked at us, at our torn clothes and desperate faces, and without a word, She opened the door wider and gestured us inside. "Quickly," she whispered, "into the cellar." We descended into darkness, into a hiding place that smelled of earth and potatoes, and I realized we were not alone. There were two other people there, a young man with his arm in a makeshift sling, and an older woman who looked at us with eyes that held the same haunted look I saw in my own reflection. We were fugitives now, criminals according to the law. According to that same law, we were also property, human beings defined as things, our humanity erased with a pen stroke. But in that cellar, we were something else. We were free, not legally, not safely, not permanently, but in our hearts, in our choices, in our willingness to risk everything for the right to determine our own destinies. We were free. I held Lily close and felt her breathing, steady and calm now. She had fallen asleep almost immediately, the way children do when they finally feel safe. And I thought, this is what protection looks like. Not preventing every harm, that was impossible, but refusing to accept harm as inevitable, fighting back, even when the fight seems hopeless. Showing my daughter that she matters, that her body is hers, that her life has value worth defending. We stayed in that cellar for 3 days while the Quaker woman, whose name we never learned, for her own protection and ours, made arrangements for the next stage of our journey. She brought us food and water, treated the wounds on our feet, and told us about the Underground Railroad, a network of safe houses and brave souls that stretched from the south all the way to Canada. "You have a long way to go still," she told me quietly, "and it gets more dangerous from here. Slave catchers are everywhere, and the fugitive slave law means even free states aren't truly safe. But there are people all along the way who will help. You have to trust them, and you have to keep moving." On the 4th night, she loaded us into a false-bottomed wagon and drove us herself to the next station, a free black family living near the border with Maryland. From there, we were passed from house to house, barn to barn, sometimes traveling by night on foot, sometimes hidden in carts or riverboats. Every day was an exercise in terror and hope. Every white face we passed could be the one that recognized us, reported us, captured us. Every dog that barked could be a slave catcher's hound. Every sound in the night could be the end. But every day was also a miracle. Every morning I woke up with Lily beside me, still free, still moving north, was a day I had stolen back from the people who thought they owned us. Every person who helped us, black and white, Quaker and Baptist and Methodist, poor farmers and wealthy merchants, was proof that the world contained more than cruelty and indifference. Lily began to speak again during those weeks. Small things at first, asking for water, commenting on a bird she saw, singing softly a song I had taught her. The farther we traveled from Virginia, the more of herself she seemed to reclaim, as if distance from that place could heal what had been broken inside her. We crossed into Pennsylvania in late November, and even though we weren't safe yet, not truly, not with bounty hunters and slave catchers operating even in free states, something lifted from my chest. We had done it. We had escaped. We were refugees in our own country, hunted and homeless, but we were not enslaved. A Quaker family in Philadelphia took us in and helped us find work and lodging. I took in laundry and sewing, the same work I had done in Virginia, but now for wages that belonged to me. Lily started attending a school for black children, learning to read and write properly, learning that she could ask questions and expect answers, learning that her mind and body were her own. Sometimes, late at night, I still dreamed of that tobacco barn, of Thomas's smirk, of my own helplessness. I would wake with my heart racing, certain we had been caught, certain I would open my eyes and find myself back in the quarters. But then I would see Lily sleeping peacefully in a real bed, in a room with a door that locked from the inside, in a city where she could walk down the street without lowering her eyes, and I would remember, we made it. We survived. I could not protect my child from what happened to her in Virginia. That failure will haunt me for the rest of my life. I will always carry the guilt of those moments when I stood by, powerless, while she was violated. I will always wonder if I could have done something differently, acted sooner, been smarter or braver or more prepared. But I can protect her now, not from every hardship. Life in Philadelphia is not easy for Black refugees, and we face discrimination, poverty, and the constant fear of being discovered and dragged back south. But I can protect her from the particular horror of slavery. I can give her a chance to grow up with dignity, with autonomy, with the possibility of joy. And perhaps that is what protection really means, not shielding someone from all harm, because that is impossible in a world so full of cruelty, but refusing to accept that cruelty as inevitable, fighting back in whatever ways you can, teaching your children that they are worthy of fighting for. Lily will carry scars from what happened to her. I know that. I see it in the way she sometimes flinches from loud noises, the way she positions herself with her back to the wall, the way she sleeps with her hand curled into a fist. Those scars are real, and they matter, but she will also carry something else, the knowledge that when she was in danger, her mother risked everything to save her, that she is loved fiercely and completely, that she is not a piece of property, but a human being with infinite worth and possibility. I look at her sometimes, studying at her little desk with a book open before her, and I see the future I could not have imagined when she was born in that dark cabin. I see a woman who will know how to read and write, who will be able to own property, who will choose her own path. I see possibilities. Could I have done more? Should I have acted sooner? These questions torment me. But I also know this. I did what I could with the power I had. And when I realized that working within the system of slavery would never be enough to protect my child, I burned that system down, at least in my own life. I walked away from it, even though walking away meant risking death. That is the power they can never take from us, no matter how many laws they pass, no matter how many chains they forge. They can own our labor. They can restrict our movements. They can violate our bodies. But they cannot make us accept it. They cannot kill the part of us that knows we deserve better, that refuses to stop fighting, that keeps reaching for freedom even when freedom seems impossible. I am Naomi Fields of Virginia, and I could not protect my child from the evil of slavery while we remained enslaved. But I could and did steal her away from it. I could give her a different story, a different future. I could teach her that she is not what they said she was. She is not property. She is not nothing. She is my daughter, and she is free. And that is everything.